I would say I'm not a stressed guy,
I was
but
saying, I don't like, so like my stress, well, obviously, like I kind of know how to deal with it.
yeah,
When I played, I was like hyper stressed.
yeah,
But nowadays, like my stress levels don't really rise. But like when they do, they rise hard. Like they hit me like hard. It's like, okay, like back against the wall.
yeah.
If I don't do something, like I'm gonna explode type thing.
So my problem is I work best in that environment. So I find myself, I don't do it on purpose, self-consciously. I put myself in that type of environment. I do my best work in that environment.
So, well, a couple different things on that. One, if you look at like society as a whole, like even in America, the greatest periods of innovation were during the highest stress back against wall environments.
Really?
The problem is you just can't be that way all the time.
Yeah.
But if we're really looking to revolutionize something, it
Yeah.
has to be one of those back against the wall
Yeah.
because like you said, like you just go.
Yeah.
And then in the subconscious part,
Yeah.
right? So I listen to like a lot of different psychologists speak and talk about different studies. One thing in related to relationships that ties into like what you're doing is like subconsciously, like men and women, if they have commitment issues, they'll look for someone else with commitment issues so they can defer blame and be like, they're not ready to commit.
Interesting.
And so you, and probably similar to me, it's like I work best in that scenario.
Yeah.
Backs against the wall. I have no options. I got to just go.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, if we know we need something done, we will put ourselves in that position to act.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, it's exactly what I do. Somebody had told me that one time when I was at Pitt, because I mean, I'm the world's biggest procrastinator. They're like, why do you do that? I'm like, I hate my work. If I have time to do something, I think it looks like absolute shit when I do it. But if I have a deadline and I will submit it right the second before that deadline. I'm like, that was a freaking masterpiece. I don't know why I'm like that. Like, it's like one of those efficiency things in my head where it's like, no, I have to be most efficient. I have this amount of time. Let's freaking hammer it out and go. And I don't know. I've always been like that. I mean, it used to drive Graham Wilbur freaking nuts.
I'm like the opposite of my wife. So I'm like you. Like you put me at a deadline, I'm good.
Yeah, and I'm not missing a deadline.
Yep. And you give me like time though, I'm gonna wait till the shortest amount possible. But what I think for myself is it removes thinking.
Yeah.
And just doing.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And like the initial just like everybody thinks their instincts are good, but like normally our initial instincts are really good.
Right.
And so when we're doing a project, something we're particularly familiar with or competent in, we will do that at a higher level without the removal of doubt or secondary thought.
Right.
And so that's where I do my best work too, is like when I've procrastinated, when my back is against the wall, when I need to go.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's where I'm at. But I mean, I kind of know that about myself. I like that about myself, but it's just, let's get going. Even when I got my studio, like the guy that did the studio for me, he was like, what, did you even move anything in? Did you buy anything? And we're like 3 weeks before the season.
I'm like, nope.
Nothing. Yeah.
Do you remember our one class together? We had one class.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had one project together.
Yeah. You didn't do a single thing for the project.
No. Well, neither one of us did. So we were partnered with this other guy. Okay. I completely forgot we even had to do anything. I just remember getting a text from this kid saying, I did everything on my own. I'm going to tell the professor I just want to work by myself. And I was like, whoa. I was like, what's going on here? I remember texting all of us in a group. Don't remember exactly what was said. This was almost 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But the kid complained to the professor. We spoke to the professor. And then
was I there when we spoke to the professor?
I did for us. I spoke to the
Yeah.
professor. He just had us retake the class. He was like, it's okay. Like communication problems happen. And I just remember you texting me separately. You're like, what a big baby. And I was like, I would have done everything like my piece that
loser.
Night. Yeah. I was just like, man, I was like, this is the only like class I've ever had an issue in. And it's like my first semester getting my MBA.
For what it's worth, I would probably take that kid's side. I did absolutely not. I don't even
about it.
I don't even remember the class. Is the craziest
The
part.
problem is people don't understand, like in our environment, like as the athlete and as you were
Yeah, I was a GA.
I'm like, it's not like we're just privy of time.
No.
It's like every second is scheduled out,
Yeah.
particularly like in season, in camp. Like I don't have free time.
Nobody, I mean, there's no GAs that ended up getting a grad school degree. Like, I don't think since, like, you can't do it.
It's impossible.
And then when the NCAA, they waived something in like 2018, it was like, hey, you don't need to go to grad school. You can be a GA and not go to grad school. So everybody just
I didn't know
dropped their class. It's some, I shouldn't say that. It's some sort of a blanket thing. Like I say, like a blanket thing. I don't know.
It's not the same thing for athletes, right?
No.
I was gonna say that definitely.
But GAs, you don't have time. I literally would wake up. Think about this during the season, during the fall semester. I would wake up every single day at 5:45. Go in 6:30 staff meeting every single day. I wouldn't leave that building until what time was dinner over? 9:30?
Maybe, yeah.
That's when I left. Yeah. Okay, where's class time?
Yep.
I have to sleep. I would like to see my significant other.
Yep.
I'd like to see my family. Where's class time? It's crazy.
People don't understand the grind of college pro athletics. Yeah. I think it's one of the most under discussed elements, particularly with like kids thinking they want to play in college.
They have no idea.
They have no idea.
Nope.
Even for myself, as someone who's like I love the game, I was fully committed. So I went to Bucknell first. Most of my listeners know that. But when you get there, it is a different level. Like you're there 6 a.m., 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget my first camp as a true freshman. And I was a starter from day one, or technically like day 5. Okay. So like I had something to like play for other than reps and experience. Like I was like playing. I remember third week into camp, and this was before some of the rules changed too. So like we were 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Yeah. We didn't leave. We got one nap a day. And I couldn't sleep because I'm just laying there looking at the wall thinking, how am I going to do 4 years of this? Mm-hmm. And like I said, I loved the game. And people and kids in particular, they don't realize the commitment level it takes, the higher the level you go to.
Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so we had this thing called the give a shit factor. Do these kids that you're recruiting, do they give a shit? Because in the think about this. The whole recruiting industry is almost messed up because none of these kids, every single one, has only played football or basketball their entire life, right? Or whatever sport they may have chosen. Say you are that great of a talent. Number one, 90% of it is genetics. That's just calling a spade. Nobody gives a shit one way or the other how many stats you put up. They care about what's your 40-yard dash? How tall is he? What's your wingspan? Why do you think these things are just so scrutinized over and over? That's the only thing that they care about. They're trying to build a super team is what they're doing. They don't care about, oh, this guy ran for 2,000 yards. Oh, but he ran a 4.940. Do you think he's a Division I football player? No, he's not. So that's where it gets mixed up. So these kids that are in some ways just thrusted into this Division I football, they're like, it's like drinking water through a fire hose. They didn't sign up for this. They just happen to be 6'4" and a freak athlete and can go up and grab it one-handed. They don't know. So, I go out and talk to some local high schools about the recruiting process and kind of map it out for the parents. Because number one, every single parent thinks their kid is a Division I player, including my parents. I was the backup quarterback. I'm like, I at least had, if there's one thing about me, I have unbelievable self-awareness, even at a young age. I was like, I don't think this NFL dream is really going to work out here. 5'8" little senior. So
you've grown since then.
I've grown 5 inches since my senior year. It's crazy. So, I mean, when you bring a player into your building and they're like, they're looking around like, what the heck is going on here? Some guys shut it down, and that's where the misses come from. Think about if you look at 24/7 Sports or On3 or Rivals or whatever it is, I just laugh and giggle. Yeah. Oh, we knew this, we knew that. Look at the NFL draft. All of our 5 stars were right on it. okay, anybody that actually knows what they're looking for, it is so easy to pinpoint a 5-star and 4-star recruit. I was the first offer for Quentin Martin at Bell Vernon. Quentin played one game his freshman year. Started one game, I should say. I'm old school, okay? I open up the newspaper every single week, the Post-Gazette, and would look at the touchdown scores. But I'm not looking for the 4-yard touchdowns, 12-yard touchdowns. I'm looking for the 70 and 80-yard touchdowns. That tells me this player is probably somewhat explosive. In Western Pennsylvania, I probably need to know all the Division I players, right? If I'm working at Pitt. Bell Vernon versus Aliquippa, it's like the quarterfinals or semifinals. This kid, Hugh Martin's on the sheet like 3 or 4 times, and these were only either the touchdowns or the turnovers. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was just touchdowns. Like, who the heck is Q Martin? You know, I've been reading this damn paper every single week. I haven't seen Q Martin at Bell Vernon one time, but their starting running back was Dane Andon, who was unbelievable high school running back, senior, probably ran a 4.9 40. Okay. For sure should have been the starter. But I turn on this Q Martin kid tape, go through the entire game. I'm like, who is this kid? Call up the head coach. He says, oh, yeah, he's a freshman. You know, we're still trying to get him in the swing of things. I think he's going to be really, really good. He'll probably be your level probably in 2 or 3 years. I said, hey, coach, just letting you know, I'm offering this kid tonight. He's going to be an All-American, potentially a 5-star. And he was a 5-star for a little bit. He dropped to a 4-star late in his career. But I mean, if you're a top 50 player, you're a dude, you know. Only 10 guys are 5-stars. But did that. And then the other one, locally in Western Pennsylvania, Pitt was the first offer. Come on, spell at McKeesport. I go first game of the season. I can't remember what it was. I was at KDK radio. We go to a McKeesport game. Who is this kid? Coach, that's a I picked him out in warm-ups. I said, who is that kid? Believe it or not, that's a freshman. I said, that's a freshman? Yeah, he'll be starting running back and safety for us. 80-yard touchdown. Okay, there's a kid. Come on, spell at McKeesport. Need offer. He's currently top 10 player in the country. He's only going to be a junior. But that's how easy it is to pick out these guys.
So when I was finishing my MBA after I finished my 5th year at Pitt, I had one more year on my MBA, so I decided to coach at Franklin for 1 year.
Yeah.
And we had some kids who thought they were Division I, weren't, right?
Yeah.
Like you get it.
And so I deal with it daily. Oh yeah.
And so we were game planning for Gateway, who had Derek Davis.
Oh yeah.
Okay. But I'm not even looking at Derek Davis at this point, because they were still talking about Courtney Jackson. And they were like, how come he has all these offers and we don't? And there was one play where he caught a bubble and he didn't gain that many yards, but he went 10 yards like that.
Yep.
Like from 0 to 10, and I pause it, I rewind it, and I'm like, guys, look at him compared to everybody else on this screen.
Yeah.
I was like, that's why he has offers all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no offense, we don't have guys in here that can do that.
Yep.
I was like, so that's why.
Yeah.
And after like doing it a couple times, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
like, that makes sense.
Well, I mean, kids don't know what they're really looking at, you know, especially I can remember being in high school looking around like, well, why did these guys have all these offers? The good news for me was I was the backup quarterback and the starter was a 6'2". I mean, he threw the ball 65, 70 yards. Mind you, I'm a little guy. Okay. I'm not so little anymore. Senior high school, you can look it up on ESPN. It's hilarious. I went to an ESPN Nike Spark Combine. I was 5'8", 158 pounds. Think about that. I threw the ball 60 yards. I had a rocket for an arm. Really, anywhere in the Whitfield except for Pittsburgh Central Catholic. People don't believe me. They're like, you can't throw the ball 60 yards. Okay, come out and see. I start throwing. They're like, my God, you can throw it that far? I'm like, yeah, I have a really good arm. The starter at Central was a starter for 4 years at Maryland, Perry Hills. It wasn't even close.
I didn't realize that's who you played with.
Yep.
So you were the Perry Hills era.
Yep. I mean, it wasn't even close. Like Perry ran a 4.5 40, was 6'2", could jump out the gym. He was like a freak athlete. I'm like, yeah, this guy's. I remember my mom and dad would be like, "Well, how you doing against Perry?" I'm like, guys, like it. I would like this conversation is over. Like, there's no way on God's green earth. Like, there has to be an injury or something. And 1 year there was an injury. My junior year against Gateway in the quarterfinals of the playoffs. I can remember once again, I was probably 5'7", $140 at that point. Okay, I was a backup quarterback at Central. You know, I took pride in that. I can remember the offensive coordinator looking at me saying, "Are you ready?" It's like the third quarter. It's a 3-point game. Are you ready? And I just remember saying, "I'm ready to go." And he goes, "All right, go take a couple snaps." I went under and I was like this going under. And I can remember the student section chanting my name. And I can remember just thinking, "Will they just shut up? I'm trying to focus here." In the first snap, this was before we get into the game now. First snap, he snaps it right off the top of my hand and fumbles it. And I looked at the center and said, "Well, what was that?" He's like, that was my bad. I was like, "Well, that can't happen. Like, we've taken a million snaps from this guy." And you know, we did lead us to a nice field goal, had a nice little bootleg waggle type of deal. Almost had a 30-yard touchdown. There was a kid, Armstead Williams, big 33 player, went
I
to
remember
Purdue.
him. Yeah.
Took it around. This thing parted like the Red Sea against Gateway to go to the damn semifinals here. And the only thought in my head was, "Oh my God, I'm going to score a touchdown here." Armstead Williams comes from the defensive end position. Give him a stiff arm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I have really long arms. My stiff arm was always deadly. Like, no matter how little I was, there's one thing I had, and it was a stiff arm. Hit him with a stiff arm. He was just so much bigger than me. Get him on the ground, and he clipped my foot, and I freaking tripped and fell. So
How
embarrassing.
many yards did you end up getting?
I think it was like 5 or 6, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
there was
No.
nobody. It was
Game
it was
saving
touchdown or nothing. He hit my foot, and I like stumbled and like kind of rolled forward. And I did get the first time, but I got up and thinking like, "Oh, I just really needed to stay on my feet there." But you know, that's why he was a big 33 player, went to Purdue. I think he was an all-conference kid at Duquesne. But yeah, Armstead Williams ruined my high school career.
How did you guys measure the give a shit factor?
Oh boy, especially with Coach Narduzzi as the head coach. You know, he's a psychology guy. We would bring kids in on visits. There would be 4-stars that we would turn away. The University of Pittsburgh, not getting many 4-stars. Okay, so if you can get a 4-star, normally you should take that 4-star. Wouldn't take them. And my first couple years there, I didn't get the culture really. I didn't get the program. You know, you have to be there to kind of understand it. And then all of a sudden you start seeing, well, that 4-star went to another school, got kicked out immediately. 4-star went to another school, never played. 4-star, you know, gets arrested. It's like, that give a shit factor really you really start to see it. I would say the best class in the Pat Narduzzi era was that COVID class where we were getting all the 4-stars. You would make the case right now, if you did Pat Narduzzi's 10 years, rank the recruiting classes, I don't even think it's a case. I think it's I think it's, well, what's the word I'm looking for? Landslide? Landslide, yeah. It's a landslide. Easily the worst class. Easily the worst class. It was filled with 4-stars. But if you don't care, if you don't, you know, you don't have those guys. It was COVID, so we couldn't get them in person to kind of really, that's where you really see, hey, do these kids, are they sleeping in meetings? You know, do they have their hood up and headphones on? That's the key right there. You can get the vibes real quickly. But yeah, the give a shit factor is a real thing. And if you don't have it, it's not about getting the best 53. It's about getting the right 53. That's a famous Bill Belichick quote. Never had the best players. You have to have the right players. Big difference.
Do you think that has something to do with why Pitt has such a good reputation and track record of developing guys that end up going pro?
Well, yeah, and I think I think Mike Stacchiotti, the strength coach, I can't say enough good about him. There's a guy before him, Coach Dave Andrews. You would have been with Andrews.
Yeah, I loved Andrews.
Great dude. I thought he was good. When Stack came in, were you? I don't think you ever liked with Stack.
I was right before Stack.
Yeah,
I think Coach Andrews left. I think he was there one more year and then left.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even close. It's not even close. Stack, he's got to be a top 5. I'm not a big strength and conditioning guy. If he's not a top 5 guy in the country, then this world is 10 times better than what I thought it might be. I mean, he looks like all brawn. You know, he's short, he's buff. You know, he probably got a chew in his mouth or something like that. You know, he swears like a sailor. He's like a dude's dude. You know, you're like, man, I could hang out with Stack. And then you get to talking with him, and you're like, this might be one of the smartest people I've ever had the pleasure of an encounter with. And he just understands strength and conditioning to a level I couldn't even explain on the microphone. If you ask him what strength is, just ask him what strength is, and he will give you an answer that makes total sense. And it's not like the mental toughness, the this, the that, when your body's under the bar, it's digging in deep. No, he gives you an actual answer, and it's like, wow, that's exactly what strength is. This guy's really good. Reads all these different books. I mean, his brain is so smart. Getting a guy like that and getting players that care and aren't missing workouts and are doing the right things off the field and, taking care of their bodies. Well, all of a sudden, you're starting to get guys with 40-inch verticals. You're starting to get guys that, I can remember our ACC season. We, 2021, Stack came in. He had laser 40-yard dash. Guys, I think the number was 21. He said we had 21 guys run 4.49 or faster. And I can remember, mind you, this 2020 year, you weren't on the 2020 team, right?
No, it was 2 years. So I was
Yeah, you were 2018 team.
Yep.
Yeah. The 2020 team had 6 or 7 guys drafted.
Yeah.
I think it might have been 7 or 8 now I think about it. 7 or 8 guys drafted. Paris Ford probably should have been drafted off that team. 6 wins. Lose all those guys. Coming back in 2021, now you do have Kenny Pickett. That helps. I can remember looking at the recruiting staff saying, if we have 21 guys running 4.49 or faster, then we're going to be ACC champions. There's no way that number's real. Well, all of a sudden, that number's real. And then Pitt has the most draft picks in a 5-year period in the ACC. And it's just the development and, guys putting in work and guys caring, multiplied by the fact that you have a guy like Mike Stacchiotti in that strength and speed room. My God. I mean, it was a sight to see. It really was a sight to see. And I really thought things were clicking for Pitt. 2022 changed everything. NIL changed everything because we had it all figured out. I mean, we were legitimately beating Notre Dame on recruits. We were legitimately beating like these bigger programs on recruits. We're like, people are in trouble right now. We just figured it out. Then Jordan Addison leaves. Oh boy. NIL has now entered the game. It flipped the game on its head. It was a complete game change. And I think, they're starting to figure out now. Then 2023, look at the 2023 team. 3 wins. There was one of those things where it was a whole new ball game. But I felt like as a football staff, 2021, 2022, we had this figured out. We had the evaluation figured out, strength figured out, the coaching, the development. We had everything all figured out. And then NIL, right on its head.
I want to circle back to NIL. What makes you not a big strength and conditioning guy?
No. I am all for strength and conditioning. I'm saying myself.
Personally.
Myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, with the Jordan Addison thing, I always say I never fault the players. Sometimes you do. But for the most part, I fault the system.
Mm-hmm.
Because realistically,
spoken like a true player.
Well, when you're a young guy and that type of money, particularly, I don't know where somebody, like, I don't know Addison's background. Some people come from not very much money.
Right.
And seeing those types of paychecks can change you and your family's life. Mm. The problem I have.
Do you think a couple $100,000 changed Jordan's life right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the time, but you don't know.
Correct. But you do know he's going to be a first-round pick in 6 months.
What if he gets hurt, though?
Okay. He'll be a second-round pick in 6 months.
Let me get my point. Let me get my point.
Sorry.
Because I'm very, you think I'm going to come off as very pro player. I'm very pro culture and winning.
Yes.
So, but what I say is I don't necessarily fault the players because that's a lot of money.
Yes.
Okay. And what comes down to it is when you're a player evaluating different things, one, those guys at that stage in their life aren't developed, or I don't want to say smart enough to know the decisions that they're making. I think what's hard is blaming the players deliberately. That's their fault. Like, what are they doing? They need to have better people around them, educating them. Hey, sure, USC offers you X, Pitt offers you Y. What's best for you long term?
Yeah.
sacrificing some in the short run to make more in the long run can be a strategic decision. Because if you go somewhere that's not the right fit from a schematic standpoint, that's not the right fit from a cultural standpoint, from a winning standpoint.
Yeah, career could be over in a flash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then now you went from, oh, I got this $500 or $500,000 paycheck in college. Well, now I don't get the millions I could have in the NFL versus, hey, I sacrificed a couple $100,000 and made $1 million on the back end. Really hard to do for a young guy. So it's like,
and it's really, I mean, imagine being 17, 18 years old trying to make that
exactly.
Not let alone a 20, 21-year-old in college thinking about transferring.
Right. Even then, like I think about me, and I've always been a more mature guy, like in terms of my thinking, my decision making. If I was coming out, like, so my 5th year, if I had been some big recruit, money 100% would have played like a big role. You know, because it's really hard as a player too to understand who has genuine interest in you.
Correct.
Who actually is giving you the real versus who's giving you, you know, whatever you want to hear.
Yeah.
So for you being in that stage, how do you handle those?
You know, it's tough. And I always say, you know, people are going to hate my opinion on it because I'm not pro player. Now, I'll
say this. If people hate your opinion, you at least stand for something.
I love when people hate my opinion.
You can't make everyone happy.
I mean, I would say 90% of, really 99% of players will probably hate my opinion. You have to remember, football for me, when I went to Duquesne to be a student coach. You know, I was always all in on football. I played at Central Catholic. I could have transferred a million different ways to play somewhere else. You know, like I was all in on the team, do whatever it takes to win a championship. You know, when I was leaving Pitt, I can remember like looking myself in the mirror and thinking like, I'm legitimately quitting on this team. Like that's what I looked at. Like when players transferred, I was like, well, that's like quitting on the team to me, you know? But the game just changed where it's like, that's not what it is anymore. You know, I have to get myself out of that mindset. And the reason why I left college football was because of the transfer portal and because of NIL. I didn't like that about it. You know, I liked that the Pitt program was you recruit a guy and then you develop a guy and they're in that Pitt family for life. You know, I can't tell you, well, I guess I can now. I had job offers to run a recruiting department all over the place. Significantly bigger money, double, if not triple my salary. Would get them every couple months. And I'm not out there searching for them. I thought I did good work. I always kept contacts with a lot of people, and people would call and offer me jobs. And I wouldn't even take an interview calling. I was like, no, I'm with Pitt, you know. And that's just kind of my take on football. I was never for football for money. You know, money's nice, but I was in football for trying to win a championship, you know? So I don't know. I just thought it was the game has changed. I don't blame the players. Like I think about, I was a college football junkie in high school. I can't imagine what I would even think. I had no idea. And I was a college football junkie at 17, 16, 17 years old. Some of these kids don't even know who's in the SEC, who's in the Big Ten, who's in the ACC, you know? So, you know, I don't blame them. It's a little bit of ignorance on their part, but it's also the main people to blame are the NCAA and the leaders of these conferences. They're all about the money, Colin. So why would the kids not be all about the money? That's the root of the evil. The guys making all the decisions for these players only care about the money. That's the problem.
That's the hard part is we have an overarching societal problem of everything just being about the money.
Correct.
As if money solves all your issues.
Correct.
My favorite saying is money solves money problems.
Yes.
It doesn't solve everything.
Yes.
And so if you were head of the NCAA, how do you change NIL portal today? What's like your first 3 things you do?
But I mean, you can't do it now. What you needed to do was back in the 70s and 80s. Hey, if a car dealership wants you to be on a commercial, kid, go be on the commercial. Hey, the NCAA video game wants Johnny Manziel to be the cover athlete. Let him be that was the solution. They knew for decades, if they let that cat out of the bag, everything was on the table after that. And which is exactly what happened. So, you know, they kept it cooped up for years. But think about the players, even as recently as you played with. How much money would, you know, Paris Ford have gotten in NIL? You know, like things like that, you go back and forth on. You want these guys to make a living because some of these guys aren't NFL guys, you know. you look at, I always go back, I came from Toledo. I was at Toledo for a year. They had the MAC player of the year, Daquan Finn. Baylor offers him 1 point whatever million to come be the quarterback. So he goes back to Toledo and says, I don't know what to do here. Like, I kind of want to be drafted. I'm not, like, my pro outlook doesn't look great. All the people grading me, it's not a draftable grade. I'm a really good college football player. What should I do? Toledo's head coach says, go make your money. Go to Baylor. Like that's what you do. So the game has changed, and I think that it's better because these players do deserve paid. I'm telling you, they work 10 times harder than anybody in the damn business world. I can tell you that.
Yep.
So, they deserve compensation for all their.
How do you cap work? It? Like, how do you put structure? I think that's like, it's just, there's no legitimate knowledge of, hey, what is a definitive offer? Who's giving it? What is the structure of it? Yeah. Who's negotiating it? You have people negotiating contracts who don't even negotiate their own contracts.
You have people negotiating NIL contracts that aren't even attorneys.
Yeah.
They have no idea.
Some people don't even have jobs.
Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, I just got laid off. Actually, I got time to write
down TV show Entourage. Yeah. He was a manager of a whatever Subaru or the pizza shop, and then all of a sudden now is negotiating Vinny Chase's contract. That's literally what it feels like.
This was one of the tipping points for me. Going into that 2022 season, would have loved to have a tight end at the University of Pittsburgh, other than Gavin, obviously. We needed one more. Lucas Kroll graduated. Would have loved to have another, like, senior guy with some receptions. There was a kid that went into the portal. He sent us a laundry list. Hey, talked it over with my people. This is what I'll need from Pitt. Guaranteed a starting spot. A tutor for the playbook so that I know the plays. How X amount of throws to me every single game. An apartment for me, a job for my soon-to-be fiance, a Blackstone grill. One of those, it was some sort of a car. I looked up the car price. It was like a $70,000 car. And then the cherry on top, and also $400,000. It's like, who is giving, like that's your list? I was like, this, and obviously we were like, yeah, that, I mean.
You know where he would have lost me, honestly? Is the tutor. If you need a tutor to learn the
playbook, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
if you have problems learning, okay, go to your coaches.
Yes.
And say, hey, I'm having problems. Yeah. Can you help me understand this?
Yes.
To demand a tutor up front, like, that's where, like, that give a shit factor.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean,
you're crazy.
It was almost like he didn't want to work. It's like, no, you come in, you work, you earn a starting spot, and then you get, it's not like, oh, hey, we're just going to get a tutor for you for your playbook because we got you from the portal. It's like,
that's the part that I think really gets lost. And me as someone, obviously with my show, like, I care so much about, like, development and creating and engineering your identity as a person.
Yeah.
That is getting lost with the transfer portal. So I'm going to pick on the transfer portal here more than the NIL in this point.
I could pick on the portal for months.
A guy comes in and if he's not starting right away, he's out. Like, he's leaving. And instead of, like, I've not sound like the 80-year-old screaming from my porch, but, like, handling adversity does matter.
Correct.
Learning how to develop skills, learning how to compete when things don't go your way, those things matter.
Yes.
And they transition not only later in life, but they transition into winning football game. Because what are you going to do in the fourth quarter? What shred of evidence do you have in your life that you can handle coming back from a deficit or handling a game-winning drive if you can't compete for your starting job?
Correct.
And that's where, for me, that I loathe the portal more than the NIL. I think the NIL is a problem. Like, the portal, to me, is the biggest issue with everything because it reduces structure and it eliminates accountability from the player.
Here is, and you are exactly correct. But once again, I think that the portal talk, that's spot on. Okay. You are eliminating things in life that you have to build upon to grow as a man, to grow as a person, and to have a family and be a productive member of society. But here's my biggest issue with is now the numbers are getting a little better, but back in like 2021, 2022, if you went into the transfer portal, what are your chances of coming out as a scholarship athlete? If you had a scholarship, you go in. Oh, but what about Joe Burrow? Look, it worked out for him. Okay, yes, there's going to be anomalies. There's outliers. If you go into the portal, there was a 49% chance you do not come out as a scholarship athlete. So if you go in as a freshman, well, guess what? You might have just played your last snap of football ever. And by the way, now you got to pay for college. But they don't tell you these things. Once again, if there was player education, it's not on the players to learn all about this. They're full-time students. They're full-time football members. If the regular person saw the schedule that these players are put through, you can't even go home in the summer. You get 2 weeks to go home. Hey, say hi to family, do a lap around the neighborhood a couple times, and then guess what? You're right back because we got to win a championship. And then that team will win 4 games. There's teams that do that. Some teams don't even win a game. These players are putting so much effort into it. So the portal, I thought, was a net negative. I thought the perfect system, if you could fit NIL into this system, you sign a letter of intent, okay? If you want to leave that badly, you sit a year. Or if you graduate, you're immediately eligible. Nowadays, you can graduate in 3 years, probably quicker if you early enroll. With the summer classes that the NCAA gives, I do think the NCAA is really good on that. Getting these kids in the summer, getting them ahead of the curve, because it is tough being a student athlete. But if you graduate, hey, then go. That's what Joe Burrow did. People don't really.
Yeah, people don't talk about that.
Yeah, that's what Russell Wilson did. If you graduate, okay, now you can kind of start looking a little bit. So I thought that was really the perfect system for what it was. And even if you kind of complete that cycle, like, hey, I came here for my degree, got my degree, I'm in that community. Now I would like to go get some more playing time, because there are situations where, hey, a kid's better. What do you want me, like, I have dreams and aspirations too. So I don't know. I think the portal was completely botched.
As soon as you started talking, I knew exactly what point you were going to.
Yeah.
Because nobody talks about that. And my own family, with my own younger brother, so he's at the Division III level, but he ended up transferring from a school to another school. And I remember when that was going on, they used that reference of Joe Burrow. I'm like, okay, first of all, we're talking about 1, Division III athletics. I was like, 2, yeah, for every Joe Burrow, there's 100 guys who come out without a team.
Correct.
And they have nowhere to go.
Yes.
Nobody talks about that.
Yes.
And there has to be some type of self-awareness to know, what bucket am I going to fall into? If I don't have any stats, I don't have any film, I can't just go back and rely on high school film unless I was a 5-star.
Right. If you're a 5-star, you're going to find a spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Then there's exceptions, but people never want to talk about the stories of bad outcomes.
Correct.
And so,
and there are plenty of, and it's sad.
Yeah.
And it's sad. Think about this. There was a player on the 2018 ACC championship team. Okay. I would consider him a potential breakout star for the University of Pittsburgh. Goes into the portal. Never came out of that portal. Ended up getting arrested. Was in jail for a while. Who knows what he's doing right now? I know he didn't come back and get his degree, but he's probably doing something down in the South that I probably don't even want to know. Was the portal good in that situation? And guess what? Pitt had the lowest amount of players enter the portal in 2019 and 2020 in all of college football. And I think it was because everybody saw that player, saw what he did on the field, how electrifying he was on the field. They're like, well, he didn't get a spot? Well, what am I going to do? I think that it scared everybody. I truly believe that there was something to that. They're like, well, he didn't go anywhere. And I just saw his mugshot on Twitter. Like, they were looking, that team was looking at the portal like, that's bad news right there. It was bad news. And it's gotten a little bit better, but marginally, like a little bit better. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. If you want to go in the portal, sure, go in the portal, but just know that scholarship goes up in flames. You better have a spot, because that scholarship, guess what? You want to pay student loans? Student loans aren't fun. You want that couple $100 coming out of your bank account every single month? It gets hard. It gets hard quickly, and I don't think people realize that. And I don't think people educate these players on that. They think it's the recruiting process all over again. Oh, I love the recruiting process. I got to tweet on Twitter all my offers 40 times a year. It's not that.
I think it should be at least a 3-year commitment. You commit to a school, you should have to be there at least 3 years. But there can be stipulations.
Yeah.
Like exceptions written in the rule. Like, I'm not saying like hard 3 years.
Yeah.
But in general, if you commit to a school, you should have to be there for 3 years.
Well, it used to be the school's letter of intent. It used to be a 4-year letter of intent. And then, if you got a red shirt, they can kind of decide on a 5th year. If you graduate early, you can kind of get out of it. It used to be 4 years. And then all these colleges would give a high schooler a 1-year scholarship offer. That was and guess who it started with, Colin? It started with the big money programs. They started the 1 year, and that, it's like the trickle down effect.
Scholarship.
Yeah, 1 year renewable. And then it starts with the trickle down effect. Well, if they're doing it and winning championships, how I have to do that? What if I recruit a bad player? I'm stuck with them for 4 years, and these big money schools can tell them to kick rocks? Once again, it goes back to the leadership levels of not just the NCAA, but the conferences and the athletic directors, because that's an athletic director decision as well. And Heather, I thought Heather was unbelievable for the University of Pittsburgh. The NIL thing, she didn't love NIL, and I think that it showed. But for what she was doing, I think she was awesome. We gave our kids 4-year scholarships. Other schools wouldn't. How's that fair?
A story about the first time I learned about 1-year renewable scholarships was, so Bucknell gave you 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of my coaches on staff played at Power 5 at the time, now Power 4. And he played at a university. I won't say what, Pitt hates it, but their coach at the time for that 1-year renewable, he would keep track of every player who was underperforming. And he'd be like, okay, how often are they missing class? How often are they late to meet?
Oh, yeah.
Did they do this? And they would use that, go to the AD and say, we got to get this kid out of here.
Correct.
Because they were underperforming on the field.
Yes.
But the guys who performed on the field.
There's blinders on with that one.
Right.
Yeah. That's not right. Yeah. That's not right. And that's, and that's where I'm passionate against the NCAA and the decision makers that way. So that there, I got the players back on that one.
Yeah. It's got to be give and pull.
Correct.
There's got to be give and pull.
Well, here's the problem. There is a happy medium out there.
Yep.
Okay. And if all these, ADs and commissioners and NCAA presidents and all that just got together in a room and worked it all out, the problem is all these big money programs, they're not going to want to hear it. Like, do you value winning or do you value money? It's a legitimate question for ADs.
And that's what sucks. Is like, as a person, like winning,
yeah.
Like, yes, money matters and there has to be some type of compensation, right? But winning in development should be at the forefront of everything.
Do you know that I'm going to be a massive FCS fan this year. I've always watched FCS football. If there's football on being played, I'm watching, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana, all those,
they're good.
Did you see what their ADs are saying?
No, what are they saying?
Oh, well, there's major conference realignment talks going on. Well, why come none of these top end FCS teams are going to the group of 5? Why not? So you start to read some of the headlines and clippings of what their ADs are saying. Just because a conference is giving you more money doesn't make it good for your program. We value development. We value winning. We value our trophy case.
That's awesome.
We like playing in our FCS. They are very rural community. So it's a little different.
Yeah.
It is a little different. But
well, hey, look, there's no difference. CAA, all those schools are going to the Patriot League.
They're all going to the Patriot League right now.
Which to me, like seeing that as someone who came from Patriot League football and how much respect I had for the CIA or CAA, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, they're actually like
they're
making
valuing,
a stand.
Yes, they're valuing education. They're valuing their commitment to the kids. That doesn't make major headlines, but the team, the 4-win team jumping up to the Mountain West is making all the headlines. It's a joke, and you wonder why North Dakota State and South Dakota State have all these players drafted every single year. Well, it's because the decision makers at those programs, the ADs and the presidents at those programs, care. And North Dakota State, how many head coaches has North Dakota State had in the last 15 years? And they still, it doesn't matter who's leading up that team. It is still in the FCS playoffs, in the national championship conversation. They're always getting players drafted. What other FCS teams and programs are like that? Every other FCS team and program, well, how do we get to the FCS? How do we do this? How do we do that? North Dakota State still stacking championships, still getting players drafted, doing it the right way. I applaud them. So decisions like that, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pay attention to FCS football a whole lot more now,
That's what so obviously, I just love the game. Like, I don't care if it's high school football. I don't care if it's Division II, Division III, FCS. Like, I'm going to watch, but that does give me an extra incentive.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's the first time I heard of that. And I think that's awesome.
Think about this. I love using this example because I think that this was one of the most boneheaded decisions of all time to nuke an athletic department. In what year will the University of Oklahoma win the SEC for the first time?
But no, it won't happen for a while. Or do you think it will?
No, I'm asking. What year do you think? You can have
Oklahoma. So I'm a big Venables guy.
Good. So good.
I'm rooting for him.
Well, what year?
Probably, I don't know, probably like a decade or something.
Right. Look at their Big 12 success.
I know.
Hey, SEC can pay us a little bit more. We're probably not going to. That is the dumbest decision. When are they going to make the playoffs again?
I wish I was in those rooms because I am such a Venables guy. I don't know how you feel about it.
I like Venables. I think he's a good.
Hear him talk about the portal and that stuff. I think he's got fantastic.
Everybody from that Dabo staff and Clemson, I think they're awesome. I'm rooting for Oklahoma. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. And so that's where I look at him and I look at the University of Oklahoma and I'm like, where's that disconnect?
Yeah.
Like, because
I don't think he knew what he was getting into.
Right. And that's where I feel bad because he turned down multiple head coaching jobs. Yeah. To stay there. His probable dream job opens up and it's just probably not total alignment. And that's where I wish I could like peek my head behind the door to see where's the alignment, where's the disconnect, what's going on, because I am such a Venables fan. I'm actually a massive Dabo fan.
Yeah, I love Dabo.
Like outside of like Pitt, and I grew up liking Oregon too, and I actually really like Dan Lanning. Clemson.
Yep.
Dabo.
Them being the anti-portal and it's hilarious. I love it. I root for them. I was rooting so hard for them to win the Natty last year. I hope it's this year because they have a squad this year. I hope they run the table this year.
They actually went into the portal a little bit, but still less than everybody
like 2
else.
or 3 though. You know, like it was
such a big deal.
Yeah.
But I like Klubnik. I think he could be a good player.
I think he is a good player. Like when he was coming out, I was like, this kid's a superstar. He's honestly let me down a little bit just because my expectations of him, they weren't Trevor Lawrence, but they were close.
He played as a freshman.
Yeah, he played as a freshman. Yeah, he's an unbelievable player, and I hope that I hope he's the first overall pick this year. I hope they win the Natty, and Dabo can kind of tell everybody, little Clemson, all of a sudden.
He's got the most amazing sound bites in relation to transfer portal, NIL, and
well, he cares. He stands for something,
and I do miss that element of college football. Where I've actually strayed away a little bit. I always like Pitt's like I'll always be a Pitt guy, but like the rest of college football, where it doesn't feel as cultural anymore.
Yeah,
like the rivalries don't feel as intense. Michigan, Ohio State, that feels intense still, but people don't have as much pride in their school.
Here's the problem, Colin, and those rivalries that are so big and like they're getting bigger because there's so few of them left. Every team used to play 3 games a year, where it's like, oh, this is a rival. Like, hey, we're getting juiced up. And then all of a sudden, oh, well, the series went dormant for 20 years. Well, how could that be? Like, do you care about the fans and the experience, or no? Everybody just cares about maximizing their money and the revenue, and that's that.
I don't give like my hardcore opinions. Obviously, I've given some opinions today. Normally, I try and play like neutral in these conversations. There's one thing I'll die on the hill. Don't care what anybody says. There's no excuse that Pitt, Penn State, and West Virginia shouldn't play every year.
They should play. I mean, you can even throw Temple into that as well, because I mean, I'm sure Temple would love Penn State and Pitt on their roster or on their schedule as well.
Yeah.
You know, in West Virginia, I'm sure Marshall would love to have West Virginia on their schedule every year. So there are give and takes to everything, but rivalries. How is Pitt, Penn State, West Virginia not played yearly?
I'll never understand that. I actually almost went to Penn State for my 5th year. I don't know if you knew that. So like I have like respect.
Yeah.
I hate them, but I have respect.
I just saw Terry Smith downtown yesterday. Talked to him for a while.
Loved him.
Unbelievable.
He's who recruited me.
Oh, really? Well, I told him, I said, hey, I'm a Pitt guy, but I'll always be a Terry Smith guy, because he does it the right way. Yep. He truly cares about a guy in developing them and getting them to degree and change. He cares about changing lives.
Yep.
That's the difference to me. It's not all about, and sure, he has a ton of draft picks, ton of first, second round picks or whatever. He cares about, hey, getting your degree, making you a better man. That's the difference for me.
Yeah. So him and my uncle are close. And so that's how I almost ended up at Penn State.
How close were you?
So, okay, I'll tell this. So this is where like, even as a mature quotations, young man, where I have some guilt too. So I was basically committed to Penn State. Okay. The only reason I didn't like sign to go in there was if I had, I wouldn't have been allowed to sit in their spring meetings and spring practices. I forget the rules why.
Yeah, I can remember
Because
that.
I was still at Bucknell.
Yep.
Okay. But as a recruit, I could.
I forgot about that stupid rule.
And so when I agreed to that, I still like wanted to go to Pitt, but Pitt really didn't show that much interest. So I have a good relationship with the Pelusi family.
Yeah.
Okay. So like Jeff Pelusi and his wife, like my mom, best friends. They were just in Italy together.
Yeah.
Okay. So I said to him, like, I just don't feel the love from Pitt.
Yeah.
Coach Narduzzi picks up the phone, gives me a call. Now, listen, I'm not like a big recruit. Okay. Let's get that out there. I'm like preferred walk on. Okay. But so he just picks up the phone, calls me. And I remember I was sitting in my driveway in my house and just like basically tells me, hey, like, we do want you, like, come down, like, for a visit, whatever. And so I went, and obviously Pitt, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to Pitt.
Yeah.
And I remember calling the phone, picking up the phone and having to tell Terry Smith. Like,
now, it couldn't be easy.
Yeah. I was like, and like my voice was cracking.
Yeah.
This was like the first like real hard conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
it's not easy to let somebody down, and you have to let
like
people
down.
Like
Pitt,
yeah. Yeah.
Which we were on the schedule that year.
Yep.
And so I was just like, hey, like, really sorry, but like, just in the easier sell was like, I got to go into Pitt's MBA program. Penn State, it was like Masters of Organizational Leadership. And so that's when I was like, okay. And I was like, I'm going to go to Pitt. I was able to get into the MBA program. They came in late, like, sorry.
Yeah.
But I say all that to circle back to my original point. Like, I hate like the Penn State cult and how they're like, why would we play Pitt? What do we have to gain from that? It's like, don't act like it's not a cool rivalry.
Right.
Like we're an hour and a half from each other.
Right.
And I don't care what any Penn State, like we're like, has Pitt been in the top 10 every single year for the last 20 years? No, but we're still
respectable. People know who
we won an ACC championship 2 years ago, produced Kenny Pickett, a first round quarterback, was third in the Heisman. I think he's finished further in the Heisman than any Penn State player has in the last however many years.
Right.
So it's like clearly like there's respect there. There's tension there. Don't care what you say. That game should be played.
It 100% should be played. But it once again, it goes down to the economics. Do you know why Penn State won't play it?
No.
So here's why. So, and I can remember being in Pitt all staff meetings. So you have the marketing department, you have every athletic department. Anybody involved in athletics is at this meeting. There's hundreds of people there. When Pitt plays a West Virginia at home or a Penn State at home, you get legitimately tens of millions more dollars into your athletic department just through ticket sales, And I can remember one year we didn't have anybody like that on the schedule. And I can remember Heather kind of saying, we don't have that big football game. So, we just have to be a little bit tight. We're here as a team. Money's fine, but we're not going to overspend like we've been when we've had West Virginia and Penn State on the schedule and Notre Dame on the schedule and all that. So the reason why Penn State won't play it, let's just say the number's 30 million. Okay. And I don't know these numbers, so I'm just going to rattle off the top of my head. Let's say Pitt Athletics in a year, we'll just use a nice, easy number, 100 million, right? They bring in $100 million. When a Penn State or West Virginia or Notre Dame's on schedule, they bring in $130 million. Well, that's a fairly significant
30%
bump.
increase, yeah.
Okay. When Penn State, their athletic department, let's just say they use the nice, easy number, 100 million. When they play, a Pitt or a West Virginia or like a non-conference that brings more in, goes from 100 million to about 103 million. The bump isn't super significant for them. It's more, but they're like, well, they're getting a massive bump. They'll be able to do way more things with that money. We don't want to do that. And guess what? Pitt does the same thing to Duquesne basketball.
Yep.
They do the exact same thing.
They do.
And I remember saying something to Heather, like I got invited every once in a while. She would pick some people to pick their brains in the athletic department. And I got invited to do that one time. And, she's like, oh, what should we, anybody have ideas? I'm like, yeah, we need to play Duquesne basketball. We want we want to cry about Penn State won't schedule us. Okay, well, we have to do the same thing to Duquesne. Like say Duquesne, nice easy money. Duquesne, no Pitt on schedule, 1 million.
Yep.
Pitt on a schedule, 1.3 million. It's a massive bump for them. You can't cry in one hand then do the exact same thing elsewhere. Messed up. But I am happy Duquesne and
they're playing. I'll be excited for that.
You know who did that?
You?
No. Come on.
Who did it?
It was Pat Narduzzi.
Oh, yeah? Good on him.
Yep. I can remember him saying something along the lines of, I can't remember who we were playing. It was 2020, 2021-ish. Brought in a team. It was New Hampshire. I think it was New Hampshire, 2021 year. He's like, why are we playing New Hampshire? Like, why don't we support the local FCS programs here? Like, there's Pitt, Robert Morris, Youngstown, and then his alma mater, which was Rhode Island. He threw them a bone. Scheduled to Rhode Island one year. He's like, why don't we help the local community? They don't have to, we're putting New Hampshire up in this hotel. It's hundreds of $1,000s. Like Duquesne, we could give that money to them. They don't have to put a hotel in. That's major for the athletic department. So
good on Deuce. Got to get you on the pod, man.
I mean, that's a guy that cares about people in universities in the locality of it. It makes sense. Why would you not do that? Why would all these schools not do that? And I mean, Penn State does the same thing. Like they scheduled Villanova the one year. So, there's that. And West Virginia, who's that FCS they schedule every once in a while. But same deal. Like you just keep the locality of it. Why is Duquesne flying down to play Florida State? They're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that, When they could just play Pitt or West Virginia. They played West Virginia last year. Now they're playing Pitt this year. So I think that's really cool.
Awesome. For tweeners, the guys, and I put myself in this category where a guy
absolutely were a tweener.
Oh yeah. So have the speed of that level, don't have the size, but can make a good career. So for me for my listeners, give you perspective. So going into my senior year, I had one offer, it was Bucknell. I picked up 5 more in season. So I had multiple Patriot Leagues, multiple Ivies, typical demographic for a person like me. Then my big one was like New Hampshire, ironically enough. They were the only school to offer me as a receiver. Every other school offered me as a defensive back, which I thought was funny. But for a tweener like me, how should they handle the recruiting process?
Yeah, it's interesting. You honestly, especially at the FCS level, you have to remember position coaches are hard to come by in the FCS, like full-time position coaches. Are you going to be coached by a graduate assistant? In some cases, I don't want to call them interns, but there's a guy like, hey, we'll give you $1,000 a month for the season to come in and coach some people. For FCS programs, that's a reality. You can only have so many full-time members. I mean, the athletic department is much smaller. So I would say the position coach is the key. Who do I want to learn the game of football from? There was a really good coach at Robert Morris a couple years ago, and his name is Dave Plungus. I think he ended up being their defense coordinator, but he was recruiting Western PA really well. And he was turning out some really good players. He's now at James Madison right now. I can remember somebody telling me, I think it was a walk-on situation. It was like, well, I really like this coach recruiting me. I think I'm going to go to Robert Morris. And I was like, hey, go to Robert Morris. They're giving you a little scholarship. At Pitt, you could only go walk on or full. There's no partial. No partial. I was like, yeah, hey man, I'm rooting for you. If you really like this guy, go play your ass off for him and see how it goes. But I'll never forget, they said he's one of the best minds that I've talked to, and his name was Dave Plungus. And I remember looking him up like, who is this Dave Plungus? But I followed this guy. He probably doesn't even know this, but I've followed this guy's career just because I wanted to see let's just see if this recruit's he's at James Madison. He's a young guy too, just keeps rising the ranks. And I'm like, that recruit was kind of spot on there. And that is something that I always look back on, for that recruit to have that conversation, because I dealt with a lot of walk-ons at Pitt, at least the high school walk-ons, where it's like, hey, we would have a spot for you. But it was almost like one of those things where walk-on spots are hard to come by. So when it opens up, it's like, hey, we kind of need an answer, so we, take a couple days, whatever. But that was a situation where it was like, I thought that recruit did really well. Hey, no, I want to be developed here. I want to be played here. He's a great position coach. At that point, he was a position coach. He then got promoted to DC at Robert Morris, and now he's at JMU. So I think that's the way to kind of go about it, because if you're a tweener, especially, you don't know what you're going to get into, because, hey, some guys like me at linebacker, some guys like me at safety, some guys like me on offense. Okay, well, I would assume in this situation with a player like yourself, you're a football player. You take, tell me where to go, coach. What can get me on the field? Because that's the reality of it. What can get me on the field?
Yep.
I'll go do that. Well, that's where you got to talk to the position coach. And if you're a tweener, I would talk to a couple of them. Well, where do you project me? Where could I be played? Talk to all those guys and then just make an informed decision, because at the end of the day, you kind of brought it up earlier, your instincts normally are correct. So you'll get the feel. You'll get the feel. I can't tell you enough, when I would get job offers to go to other places to run a recruiting department, there were two that I was like up at night tossing and turning. And I probably had, and this is kind of a crazy number, I'm not trying to brag here, but I probably had like 10 or so offers to go elsewhere, and I would always stay at Pitt. But there were two that I'm like tossing and turning up at night, because I was like, I don't know, man. I think that this might be the one. Like, if I want to better my career, I probably have to go here. And then I would wake up the next morning, would put on a Pitt tee and, bike to work or whatever. I was like, nah, it just feels right here. So I'd call up the coach. Hey, appreciate the offer. No dice.
I'm a big believer in sleeping on decisions.
You have
People
to.
say that.
You have to.
But if you make, and you always are operating with emotions, so I don't like saying an emotionless decision, but a controlled emotion decision. Yeah. Usually right before bed, when you're thinking about making a decision, you're not thinking in the most rational state of mind. You're not thinking objectively. And so sleep on that decision, let everything, the nervous system, calm down.
Yeah.
Wake up, drink a glass of water.
Normally you'll have clarity.
And you have clarity.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to give my perspective living through that situation. So committed to Bucknell before my senior year, picked up those offers. New Hampshire had me thinking. I was like,
I'm sure.
I wanted to be a receiver. Like, I was like, I want to be a slot receiver. But at that time, there was no Hunter Renfro yet. He became, because we were the same age.
Yeah.
So he became a thing. And then the slot white receivers became a little more prevalent. But so I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to Bucknell. Ended up being a great decision. So my fifth year, right, I had other offers from FCS schools because
I can imagine. Yeah, you were had a good career at Bucknell. Yeah.
So I had a good career. My coaches handled it awesome. I will say I would have went back to Bucknell for my fifth year, but Bucknell has a rule.
You can't play a fifth at Bucknell, right?
No, I had to take off a semester. And I was like, and I couldn't stay on campus.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going home
for a semester.
Right. Like, not doing that. So my coaches were super cool. They helped me with the recruiting process. Not only gave me the waiver, but helped me like make an informed decision. And for me, when you're making that decision as a tweener, deciding between scholarship, preferred walk-on, one, you have to be either in a financial situation where I can either A, take on a loan and pay it off, or B, be lucky enough to have family members who can help facilitate that cost as well. But then understand what is most important to me. And so for me, in those shoes, it was, I knew I could go to an FCS school and play, contribute, maybe be another all-conference guy. But for me, I felt I had proved what I needed to at that level. And so I didn't want to go through the rest of my life wondering, was I capable enough to play up a level? And so for me, if I went to Pitt and I had played 0 snaps, but I tested myself, I was more okay. You at least with got that. To see. Yeah. I was okay with that failure than I would have been succeeding again at the FCS level. When you came to Pitt, now here's a good question, because we used to get situations like yours a lot, and even in recruiting, they're like, no, I know I can do it. I just want to go see. Was there a moment where you're like, okay, this is much different than I thought? So I'll say this. Did you come in thinking like, hey, I could probably win a starting spot? So I did come in with those aspirations. But like, my mentality, you got to understand. Well, you have to have the mentality. If you don't, you're cooked. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's exactly, I was like, I'm coming in. I don't care what the odds are. I was like, I'm coming in with the mentality I'm playing. Yeah. The first oh shit moment, honestly, it wasn't even on the field. It was when I walked in and my name was nowhere to be found on the depth chart. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
And I really don't swear, but like, I'll never forget that. That was probably the deepest pit in my stomach I've ever had. And I had, because I was there, I was signed, I was in class already. I was like, I have two choices. I was like, I can let this bury me, or I was like, I got to pick up and have a fight.
Yeah.
And so I never felt out of place from a speed perspective.
Right.
Because I'll never forget the one day, I'll toot my own horn here. Competition day was the first time that I could really show off I was fast. And I was so excited for this day. And so, boom, we go. I finished second amongst the defensive backs.
Nice.
That was with Damari Mathis.
Oh, yeah. There were some dudes in that 18 room. Jackson.
Dane, yeah. And I remember because I was next to Dane. Dane's one of my favorite teammates. And he was like, what's going on? I remember Archie Collins going like, why are you losing to this? So, again, second one. Boom, second again. The only one that could beat me was Philip Motley.
Oh, and he could fly. He was a 4.32 guy.
Yeah. And so I'll never forget going right up alongside him for the last one, finishing second again.
Yeah.
But I remember Coach Narduzzi pulling me up over to the side. I wonder if he remembers this conversation. Probably not, because it's probably insignificant to him. But he goes, and he's like eating some snack. He goes,
so was it after practice? Probably.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And he was like, so you can run with these guys. It's like, I can. And so that was like, for me, like really cool. But like, I mean, Damari, Pinnock, look at those guys compared to mine.
Yeah.
And so that was like the always thing for me is like, I knew I was smaller. Like I was such like a niche type player. But so that was like the tough, like the realization is like, I am small.
Yeah.
Like I can run.
I can
with
do
these
this.
guys.
Yeah.
I can jump with the guys, but like I'm always going to be at that deficit.
Yeah.
So that was for me, like the realization and like what I say, like, cause a lot of my teammates who didn't get that fifth year, cause I had an ACL injury. So I just got the medical red shirt. Cause Bucknell didn't red shirt for whatever reason. You could apply, but most of my friends were like, yeah, I'm good leaving. They would also ask me like, what's the biggest difference? I was like, realistically at Bucknell. So we had one guy get drafted, another guy end up being a 7-year NFL vet. And I was the only other one to go. So Julian Davenport. So he was left tackle and some right tackle too. We
used to play Bucknell. It felt like yearly at Duquesne. They would always beat us. It was so annoying. The one year we beat them, I was like, all right, we might be good. And then we ended up winning the conference.
I think that was Julian's senior year.
It would have been 2015.
No. So you guys beat us again. That was 2015. That was Julian's senior year.
The kid got a brain.
He was at Bucknell by accident. He was 6'7".
Yeah.
Could play point guard.
That happens.
It
happens.
So he ended up being a 3rd-round draft pick. Then Abdul Anderson was the other one. He went undrafted. I think he actually might still be playing, so longer in the NFL career, but stuck around, got some starts, practice squad, whatever.
Yeah.
And then there was me, and then our punter. Other than that, I always say I think maybe like 2 to 3 could like go and play.
Right.
Like not just like whatever, but like letter.
Yep.
Okay. I was like, that's like the difference.
Yes.
Is like you get maybe 2 to 4 guys that could be productive in the sense of like, hey, I'm going to go play, not just fill water.
People don't realize it. I mean, moving up a level.
It's different.
Oh boy, is it different. I mean, you could be.
Listen, I could take plays off at Bucknell. Like,
oh yeah.
I'm Mr. like lock in, but like, don't get it twisted. There are plays where I'm chilling that corner where I'm like, I'm just going to take it a little. I'm going to be about.
Catch my breath a little bit. Yeah.
When I was at Pitt, every rep was my Super Bowl.
Yep.
Every single rep. And you would see in practice on film, me running down on kickoff. Everyone's kind of coasting. No, there's calling.
Yeah. Flying. Yeah.
I had no choice.
Yep.
Like I had no choice. Every play was my Super Bowl. Every single one. And that's like the difference.
And I'll give you another scenario. I won't say the player's name, but he was a conference player of the year for his position of the ball. His whole position of the ball, okay? Not conference player of the year at the FCS level. Says, I know I can play at the Power 5. Kind of short, really short, alarmingly short for the position you want to play. I told him this, told the head coach this, said, hey, I think he should stay wherever he's at, become a legend at that place. I said, he'll look back in 40 years, he'll be good. Karlo, he just wants to see. And I have full faith in him. I said, I have full faith in him too. I'm just saying. I said, and if there's one guy that's going to go to bat for him, I know it's going to be Pat Narduzzi because he loves him too. came in, his eyes were like this. I mean, just absolutely. He was too small.
Yeah.
He was too small. And at the FCS level, he was an animal. He was conference player of the year. He shut down. Completely shut down, was a shell of himself. And you can't do that. You have to rise to the occasion. But it was like one of those realizations where he was like, I can't. Maybe I can't. Well, he would have been an awesome special teamer. He probably would have had certain packages one way or another later in the year. But no, he completely shut down. Didn't even start on scout team by the end of the year. That's where it's like you have to have the mental toughness to understand, hey, this is a different level. Like, think about this. Rashad Weaver, people thought Rashad Weaver was too slow, but he was 6'6". His wingspan was unbelievable. It's like big people move little people, and he was big. He wasn't fast. Patrick Jones was fast on the other side, but Weaver played to his advantages. And it's like, you have to understand at the Power 5 level, sure, not everybody's going to be unbelievable speed, unbelievable this, unbelievable, but they're going to have something.
They're going to be dudes
that they can fall back on that you don't have.
Exactly.
Then you need to have an answer one way or the other. And that could be your mental fortitude, like, no, I'm going to figure this guy out. I'm going to keep going at him. Like, so I think for guys like you, I've seen it both ways where, you come into a program, you give your all, you find your role, play with your freaking heart on your chest, on your sleeve. And people love that. But then there's also that other side where it's like, there's a realization, holy smokes, I can't do this. We had a quarterback one year, great guy, I can't. Derek Kyler, I think his name was, in 2022, I think. Brought him in as a backup. Conference player of the year at Dartmouth. Dartmouth film was unbelievable. Comes in, it's like, where the hell is that Dartmouth film? But the game is, and it's completely different. And he's a nice little player, but he came to be a backup. He was kind of helping us out, but he wanted to see Power 5 level, and I think he wanted to get into coaching as well. So, he was a good experience for him, but he was like, man, this is different. This is different.
Particularly the quarterback position. That's the biggest.
Yes.
And like the mentality has to be different. And I got fortunate from a genetic component mentally. The challenge didn't scare me off.
Yeah.
And it was the sense like I said, it was less outcome focused.
Yeah.
And it was more, I'm going to go in and do everything I can.
The players like that will make it in college football. It doesn't matter what level, right. They will make it in college football.
And that's where and I always caution, like that exact example, like the conference player of the year, right? Like you can't come in with like those sunglasses on.
Correct.
Like you're like, I'm the guy.
Be humbled real quick.
Exactly. And that you have to be ready to be humbled. And I'm like, I don't want to put negativity in people's minds where it's like, I'm preparing to like fail. It's like, no, but you have to have a plan for failure.
Correct. Yeah. You have to be able to bounce back one way or the other.
You have to be able to navigate and be adaptable along that path. And that's where it's like, my niche is like that identity. It's like, well, I'm going to be the type of person that does this, regardless of whether I'm number one or whether I'm nobody.
Yeah.
My actions and who I am fundamentally doesn't change.
I started doing some consulting work for high school teams and even like it can get down to like a personalized consulting for families. Just talk about college football because talk to every single family. Like my son's D1. Okay, well, let me ask you this. When you go to a program and you're not playing for 3 years, how are you going to feel when you're not even on the depth chart? Well, I'm not going to like that. Okay, well, you don't have any scholarships right now. Why don't you go to a Cal U practice, a Slippery Rock practice? Then go to a W&J practice, John Carroll practice, a Westminster practice. Going to a program, sure, everybody wants to be D1 and flashy lights. I think it's better to go to a program where you can find a way onto the field, find your little role. If you become a star and you're an All-American, great. You'll probably be able to transfer up nowadays anyway. But I think it's better to be in that community. There are some guys, you talk to those PSAC guys, and I mean, you really talk to these PSAC guys, the Cal U's, the Slippery Rocks, the Edinburghs, all them. They will die for their school and for their team. And I'll tell you what, those communities are just as prideful as the Pitt and Penn States are.
100%.
They might not be as big, but they're just as prideful. So I think people don't really realize that.
People also don't understand how good like PSAC football is.
I always tell them, hey, go to Cal U practice and tell me how good your son is.
Yeah, honestly.
You'll find out real quick.
Even the W&Js in the Westminsters, John Carroll's, they have dudes.
Yes.
They have got, I know for a fact because I've been there where I'm like, this guy could have played at Bucknell.
Yeah.
They could have played. But like you only have so many scholarship offers and it's always going to defer to like the size, length, speed type, even at the FCS levels, like the next tier down.
Yeah.
And it's like, but if you go somewhere and just play, one, you're gonna
love your college experience.
Exactly. And it's easy for me to say, come down. You played at Bucknell. You had the scholarship. You went up and lettered and did whatever. And it's like, yeah, I get that, but I'll never forget a conversation I had with my stepdad. And I was 18-year-old kid. I'm like crying because like I was 17 at the time because before I picked up my Bucknell offer, and he's like, well, like we're going all over the country. Like what else can we do to get you a scholarship offer? And he was like, we have to like decide at some point, like, are you going to walk on somewhere? Or are you going to go to W&J? And I'll never forget saying, the ego mentality. I was like, if I don't get a scholarship offer, I was like, I'll go to W&J and set like all kinds of records.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like my mentality. Like I was going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, it's awesome to have, goals. There's just like a fine line between, no, I want to do this, want to do that, want to do that. But then also realizing like, hey, I also want to have a good experience.
I want to play. Yes. I want to be a football player.
Yes.
I don't just want the accolades or the notoriety. It's like at the root cause of it.
Right. I
want to be a football player.
Yeah.
And unfortunately you weren't blessed with the genetics of some of these guys.
Yeah. I would say it's 90%. for to be a dude.
Right. You just like
sure some work hard, but I've seen a lot of lazy dudes that have 40 offers that
it's just
he's not working hard.
Yeah. And so that's why like even that work hard conversation, it's like you can't look at the guy who's 6'5" and runs a 4.4 when he wakes out of bed and have the same work ethic as him.
Right.
And you also have to have that reality, like even if you work infinitely harder, still might not be better.
I like telling people this. Okay, you want to play college football? Wonderful. There's and I have the number. I could probably pull it up on my phone, but numbers like 240,000. Okay, 240,000 seniors that are playing high school football this year. How many times a day do you work out? I work out once a day. Good. So do the other seniors. Time to go to sleep at night? Probably like 11. You're not getting the edge up there either. What are you eating? What's your snack closet look like? Oreos. You don't have the edge there either. All of a sudden, those little things, are you stretching? No, well, stretching. What do you mean? Yeah, I stretch before working. No. Like yoga, like bands doing it. No, I don't do that. Oh, well, you don't have the edge there either. You better find something because all the high school seniors in the country are working out once a day. All the high school seniors in the country, they all care. And I think that's a beautiful part about our side. They all care. But guess what? You have to realize that's also your competition. You want to go play college football? They're your competition too. So you better be doing something. You better be doing something to separate yourself.
It's hard to get young people to accept that too.
Yes.
That's like the maturity aspect. That's really, really hard. And I do my best to like articulate that to the young guys like I speak to and work with. It's like, I want to be fair because you're a kid.
Yeah. But
if you're not,
if these are your goals,
exactly. It's like, there's got to be an understanding.
Yeah.
There's no more every Saturday night going to the high school field party.
Yep.
Right. There's no more, hey, I'm going to eat a box of Fruity Pebbles today.
Yep.
There's no more like cinnamon toast is my breakfast. Like you have to maximize every bit. And if you don't want to, after realizing what it takes, that's okay.
That's fine. Yeah, go have a great high school
do whatever
year. Yeah, that's a good thing to have.
Yeah. And like no judgment. You have to make that decision with no judgment on yourself. But if you really want this at your current level, you have to do everything different than everybody else.
And this is one of those things that we were talking about where when your back's against the wall, some things just kind of start clicking. My little cousin, he's going into his senior year at Seton LaSalle. Okay. Love this kid to death. Football playing wise, it was like for the first couple of years, like, yeah, you got to do this, pal, got to do that, pal. Well, then he comes to me, well, I want to play college football. I said, Logan, yeah, if you want to play college football, I will do everything in my power to let you play college football. If you prove to me that you want to play college football. I said, because I'm not recommending you at your current state because you want to have a good time playing ball, and he's been having a nice little career at Seton. I said, but you need to do this, that, and that. Well, that's a lot. Yeah. Well, you're way behind. Well, he's had an unbelievable spring, unbelievable summer training. He's starting to actually look like a dude when you go and take him to college camps. I'm like, man, he's like, I'll be able to like call some people, guys and say like, he actually is going to be able to do something. I said to him, because he's starting to get some confidence. He's like, yeah, I'm just feeling it. I said, imagine if you were doing that last 3 years where you would be at. You've been doing this for 5-6 months. Imagine 3 years you would have been doing that.
And that's the big thing too. Like people be like, hey, can you reach out to this person for me? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like my word is only as good as my word. If you want my word to carry any weight,
yes,
you have to.
That's kind of what I told him. I said,
you have to earn it.
Yeah. I said, I will pull every string possible. But like, I love him like he's my little brother. Like our families are very close. Love him like he's my little brother. I said, I'll make a call. It was last camp season. He skipped a camp to go cut grass. He had a nice little landscaping business. I said, buddy, you're skipping a camp to cut the grass.
Yeah, doesn't work.
Yeah, you think I'm making a call for you? No shot, pal. No shot. And it was almost a little bit of a wake up call for him. But no, I'm super proud of him. I think he is going to go play college football next year. I don't know where yet though, but it's just one of those things. Like the kid is all work right now. You would be stunned, and I'm like so proud of him. Proud cousin moment. I'm like, man, he really flipped a switch. He's looking like a dude. Feeling really good. But if you're not working, there's not going to be people that are going to go to bat for you. At least work hard enough that somebody would, like you had somebody going to bat for you to come to Pitt. If you have that, it's a major deal. Major deal.
Well, for the sake of time, I appreciate you coming on. I had a bunch of questions here. I don't think I asked any of them, man.
Okay, let's keep going.
Are you good? Beautiful. Well, let's see here. I like this one right here. Mm-hmm. So going back to that, like, give a shit factor, like what are the questions you ask to determine, hey, is this a good fit for the culture?
That isn't really like things that you can almost kind of ask a kid straight up.
Feel it.
It's almost like a feel factor. And I'll tell you, the dudes, when he gets them in his office, it's like an office kind of like this, he'll sit with them and the whole family for like an hour and a half and probably get a good feel. But it's bringing them on campus, getting them around the players. Let the players tell you.
I will say, because I had hosted a couple. Mm-hmm. I actually ended up hosting one of our best players that Bucknell has had in the last however many years. And I remember the coach was like, they're like, really give us your opinion. And I was like,
yeah,
I was like, bring them.
Yeah.
I was like, get them here.
Yeah,
we ended up being really close.
The players that there was a kid coming from Florida, unbelievable film, really good, and it was almost like, why is he leaving Florida? But it's us and 2 other programs that normally we would beat. Bring him up on an official visit. Players tell us, hey, he's not for us. Okay, well, why? Well, players, they'll protect the guy, Get down to a nitty gritty. Oh, he's bringing drugs around, doing this, doing that. He's on his official visit.
Yeah.
So we don't take the kid. Goes to a different team, never played. I was like, his film at Florida. I mean, it was like, why is this, like, this kid should be entering the draft. Like, why is he in the portal, Give a shit factor. No, we're worried about the wrong things.
Do you think you can change those guys? Like, do you think you can bring in a guy, maybe not to that level?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I go back to the story I told about one of the first guys that went into the portal at Pitt that, ended up having a mugshot and all that. That kid would have succeeded in life if he had stayed at Pitt. That's why I'm so passionate about those things. He would have gotten his college degree. I don't know if he would have been an NFL player. He would have had a cup of coffee in the NFL, I'm sure. Maybe he would have made a couple plays every here and there. But it would have been life-changing for him. He would have had a job coming out. Would have been able to, do all these things. Went into the portal, now you can't. So
when are you willing to take that chance on someone? Like how, like, is it a talent?
Oh, it's 100% a talent thing. Oh yeah. Oh, it's 100% a talent thing. Yeah. So the more talent you have,
the more leeway.
In 2021, I always used to laugh. Coach, and this, Coach usually, you have to wear specific gloves, you have to wear specific cleats, and Be a team guy. You're not going to go out and wear pink gloves and be different than everybody else, you know. Well, there was one guy, if you wore black gloves, what are you wearing black gloves for? Da, 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 you know, you're not a team guy. Da. Well, I can remember a couple different highlights of Jordan Addison wearing some black gloves. And it was just seemed to be like every time Jordan walked by, coach, it's like one of those, the receiver coach, the OC, the head coach, you know, it's like a little bit of blinders on. So it 100% is a talent thing, you know. So and obviously that's like a ticky-tack little funny story,
Yeah,
but it that is real, you know. The better you are, yeah, I could probably put up with that guy. Hey, this kid has 54 parties in high school. I don't know. Oh boy, he really bends that edge though. I'll get him up myself if I got to, you know. So it's like one of those things where the more talented you are, the better. Now could be bad as well. You know, you look at some guys get to the NFL and, oh, how'd this first round pick bust? Well, they probably getting Johnny Manziel. I mean, he tells stories all the time of like Cliff Kingsbury picking him up. He's drunk at his house in the morning from the night prior, you know.
We go back to that like working hard conversation. Like, what are you committing to? Like, off a bender, Johnny Manziel goes into Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, but like
it beats Alabama.
Yeah.
Like, imagine how naturally gifted you have to be.
Think about this. He goes to the NFL. He legitimately did this. He flew and partied in Vegas all weekend before a game and then got caught. And, you know, he was like, oh, man, well, that's what I did in college. He didn't have the talent level to do that in the NFL.
Yeah.
Lawrence Timmons, or not Lawrence Timmons, who's the greatest pass rusher, Lawrence Taylor. Oh, he would party. You know, you hear this Lawrence Taylor parties. You know, he did some things, but guess what? He could sack that quarterback, and all of a sudden those blinders come on for those things. Yeah, it absolutely is a talent thing. And then there's also a thing like, hey, he's a great kid. We're going to help him out, do this, do that. You know, so there's those stories too, where if you're that great of a person athletically on the field, Charlie Partridge, I won't say the kid because everybody loved this kid at Pitt, had no business being on a roster. And at the end of every, you know, we go through the depth chart, Charlie say, so-and-so, he's a great kid. And that's all you needed. Like, that's all he needed to say. It's like, coach, we're keeping him around. Everybody loves him. We don't have to do this. You know, I know we do. On that depth chart, you go through every single player on that roster. Third string long snapper, you know, 100th string linebacker. You go through everybody. How'd they do today? Yada, yada, yada. Coach, he's a great kid. And he got his degree. And but he walks around with that Pitt logo with pride, and for good reason, you know, like everybody loved him. He impacted those teams just from him being a great kid, you know.
Everybody's got a role.
Yes.
Sometimes you're the great kid.
Yes. Yeah. And he would do, if somebody told him, hey, army crawl 100 yards and the field's full of nails, he'd be like, oh, I'm doing it, you know. So there's a role for those kids too. And it's not necessarily a talent. It could be other things as well. So
it's funny because the apparel, I was a constant get yelled at apparel guy because I always had the baggy shirt, and Narduzzi hated that. But it was never him that yelled at me. It was always the same coach. It was always Coach Salem.
Oh yeah,
because he was always special teams, right?
Yeah.
I'd be on kickoff and I'd get shirt on. He'd be like, come on, doesn't Coach say that he hates that? I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, Coach. I tuck it in as I'm walking back from my rep. Untuck it. Yep. But I constantly. So you just got to be smart with it, right? But
yeah.
No, it's just so funny because Coach Narduzzi's always been that way.
And I think it's a good thing, you know. I think there is a correlation there. You know, everybody made fun of it when it happened after the 2020 season. You know, 8 guys drafted, whatever. 9. I think it might have been 9. I think I might have undersold it earlier. I think it might have been 9.
At least when I was we had dudes.
Yeah, I mean, it was like crazy.
We had dudes. Like, I mean, you know, Weaver, Pat Jones.
Yep.
We had DeMar, Pinnock, Damari. Hallett. Hallett was a freshman, not even playing.
That 2020 team, if you go back and look at that roster, the amount of draft picks on that roster,
it's unbelievable.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But even your roster in 2018, they were just all 2 years away. Yeah, they were just 2 years away.
Coming up. I'm trying to think who are some of the other guys. I mean, even like, you know,
think about Ollison and Hall, that 2018 team.
Yeah. How could I forget?
Like,
Ollison.
My God. Like, Maurice French was in CFL for a while.
Even Rah-Rah, I know he didn't play in the NFL. Rah-Rah, good player.
Yep.
Haba was a freshman.
Yep.
I I know I'm forgetting
Ido, who
guys.
played in the CFL for like 4 or 5
He
years.
was a
Yeah.
stud. Who else? I know I'm forgetting. I mean, Dennis was the greatest leader ever.
Dennis, 2-time, like one of the only 2-time captains in Pitt history.
Oh,
you know,
so Paris was on that.
Yeah,
We
2018
were
team.
loaded. Kenny, like I forget Kenny. Then we had Bookser. You know, we had Jimmy Morrissey. Like,
Oh
who
yeah,
am I forgetting on the interior?
you start.
I know we had Shane Roy.
Dentino was in the interior there.
Dentino was there.
And
who else
was
did
it?
we have?
No, Steph Millen was the next year.
No, we had Steph.
Oh, Steph was 2018.
He would have been drafted.
It was Nolan Uluzio in 2019.
Yeah,
yes, Steph Millen was 18.
Steph
would have been drafted.
The only person in my life, you know, people always say like, "Oh, I could have played Division I if I wanted to, or I could have played in the NFL if I wanted to." He's the only real life example that could literally say, "Yeah, I could have been drafted if I wanted to, but I chose not to."
No, Drizzy told him, he said, just go get drafted, sign the contract, it's guaranteed money, and then just tell him you're done. You'll collect a couple $100,000. He didn't do it.
Craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Because he was a dude. I'll never forget. I love Steph. He's a great guy. But that team was
a lot better than people realized.
Like, he blew out his ACL, but like Q could have played in the NFL.
Absolutely could have.
Who else?
That 2018 team was fun.
Was a freak.
And you want to talk about that 2018 team? Even so, talk about getting punched in the face a couple times early in the season and just bouncing back. That's the adversity.
I still say if Jimmy Morrissey didn't get hurt, if Morrissey didn't break his ankle when we beat,
I forgot about that.
When we beat Wake Forest,
I forgot about that.
Miami.
And we didn't even need to use that play against Wake Forest.
Right.
We already had the game in the bag.
And I'm not a big if guy, okay? But like Jimmy Morrissey doesn't get hurt.
Would have been a different.
We beat Miami. I forget. I think that was our last game.
Oh, yeah.
So we would have won into the AC championship game. We would have put up
with
a
lot
fight.
Of confidence.
Yeah, we would have put up a better fight. I think we would have been in like one of those premier bowl games.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say this, and people don't realize this. This is another one. People don't realize this. Sure, Clemson kind of kicked our ass in that ACC championship game.
That was also one of the best teams ever.
Yes, they were. But there was a moment in that game where I was like, holy smokes. We might do, when Allison scored that touchdown, I think it was like 10-7 or whatever. I was like, and we're getting the second half kickoff. I was like, we're kind of in this thing.
We were in it.
And then, Clemson ends up blowing us out a little bit at the end there. But in that 6-year stretch that Clemson was winning those title games, we were the closest game.
Yes.
By final score. And I remember thinking, like, final score, it was it was much closer than the score indicated, but we were still the closest score. Clemson was just on a freaking whole nother level.
That game, too, because that was like, for me, like embracing that moment, like that was like peak of my career type thing. So I was locked in. A couple defining moments early in that game. First play of the game, ETN goes
80 yards.
80 yards gone. Okay. For me, like being a football guy, I was like, all right, like that happens.
Yeah.
Like I've seen that happen and teams lose. I was like, what I want to see is how are we going to hold up against the 4 first-round draft picks on their D-line? Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget Clellan Farrell going right around Books our first play.
Oh, yeah. Boom.
Drops Kenny. So that was like, that's where too, like, we're like, okay, if we have Jimmy Morrissey, all right, we're able to kick out
a little bit. Yeah.
We're able to control that a little bit more. We ran the football well.
Oh, we were in that game. Yeah. I mean, and it rained. I mean, it was a little bit of rain fest. But Allison and I don't know, Allison and Hall, I've never seen it in my life. Running back tandem. They never coordinated who had a great game together. It was like one had an unbelievable game, and it was always one or the other. And I think that was more so an Allison game, if I remember.
Allison played well that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that was like one of those games where if we had a passing game at all.
Oh, geez.
So that was like the worst passing game ever.
I think Kenny threw for 6 yards. 8 yards, yeah.
It was like 2 of like 15.
But, Trevor Lawrence also threw for like 119.
If you remember, post game, I remember them coming over and saying to us, we've never had a secondary unit cover us this well.
Yeah.
Which was a cool compliment. Obviously, like,
right.
We lose, like, big brother, little brother type thing, but like, cool compliment. But that 8-yard passing game, not Kenny's fault.
No.
Not Kenny's
fault.
The
Professor Sean Watson. Oh.
Do you know him and I's story?
No.
I don't like airing this stuff out, but him and I mended our relationship.
I'll give you a great one. I've never told this, but I'll give you a great one too.
So maybe I'll tag him in this if he's on social media or coaching anywhere. So
do you know where he's at?
No.
He's the head coach at Wofford.
Is he still there?
Mm-hmm.
Good for him. I'll have to reach out to him. This is not a knock on you, coach, but So it was, I forget the game, but it was Thursday, perfect Thursday. We're doing red zone for the offense. And, like I was like scout team, right? As the safety, I'm post high safety. Okay. I line up 5 yards deep in the end zone like I'm supposed to be taught.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Kenny snaps the ball. And I don't like move. Okay. Because I'm not backpedaling,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm taught not to. So I'm like just like flat foot reading. Kenny just like throws the ball. Sean Watson screaming at me from across the field.
Oh, yeah.
And like knowing me, like I bust my ass for this team. And so I'm like, he's like coming down my throat. Normally I'm not like a talk back guy, but I was like this is literally what I'd be taught on as a starter. Like
Right.
you sit and read.
Right.
Like you don't backpedal. Where am I backpedaling to out of the end zone? And I didn't say like that. I was much calmer. And then he goes, like, listen to me, motherfucker. And I'm like a big respect guy. And I snap. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, don't you ever talk to me that way. And I'm not advocating for players to do this, guys. But like I'm a senior at this point. Like, I have nothing to really lose other than playing special teams, which I didn't think was going to happen, but I wasn't thinking about it in the moment. And I was just like, don't ever talk to me like that. I was like, nobody works harder for this team than me. I'm like, I bust my ass day in and day out for this team. And then he immediately starts like apologizing. And I'm like, no, I'm like, get out of here. I'm like, Eric, I'm like, get in, I'm out. Kenny comes over to me after. He's like, what's going on? Like, what happened? And I'm like, this motherfucker's telling me. I'm like, this is how I'm coached. And he's like, no, you're good. Kenny goes and talks. And like, he was really not like after like apologetic, like mended the relationship. But like, I'll never forget that because that was the only time I ever got into it with a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much my whole career.
Yeah. Sean, I mean, he would outburst and let you know about it.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't the biggest Sean Watson guy. He, in 2018, I don't want to say it was the lowest point of my life because I'm the type of guy where I'm even keeled.
Yeah.
It's like the Bob Jonko, never too high, never too low. But the quote unquote lowest moment of your life, this would have probably been me in 2017. And once again, I was whatever, but I was out of football. I was like, all right, time to pack up and go. I screwed this thing up. Time to roll. 2017 comes. Just get hired to Pitt. I'm like, all right, here we go. This is it. Said something to it like, when I was at Toledo, we would talk to the media members about recruiting. Like that's what you did. It's what most programs do. Some schools give media members their whole damn recruiting list 40 times the whole shebang. It helps get them the recruiting star bumps and all this stuff. It could be a nice relationship. Pat Narduzzi is not that way. Pat Narduzzi is, don't you freaking dare tell a recruiting service this. There's a Western PA kid who went to West Virginia. We had offered him. The talk around town was West Virginia beat Pitt for this Whippeal kid. So, I stuck my nose where it shouldn't have been. Hey, that's wrong. Here's what actually happened. They report that story. Well, now Narduzzi's like, okay, well, who's the leak here? And I'm like, oh boy. Oh boy. So 2017, I wasn't allowed to practice, wasn't allowed in staff meeting. I wasn't allowed in any meetings. I mean, I was exiled. My only saving grace was I was in school because I was a graduate assistant. So I was like, well, they got to keep me until the end of the semester. But I can remember being on the phone with Coach Narduzzi in 20. I'm like month 2 or 3 on the job. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh my God, I think I'm going to get fired. I was like, this is crazy. And he said, I'm not going to fire you, but you are just about done here. And I was like, oh boy, this is not good. So, most people might curl up and be that way. I went out, bought a brand new Mac computer for Whippeal Insider, was going to do this, was good. I was like, all right, college football, had a nice 4 years of Duquesne, 1 year Toledo, 1 year Pitt. That's that. Whippeal Insider, here we go. Was legitimately prepared, like buying things for this my entire 2017 year. I was like, all right, like done. But put my head down and worked my ass off. I was like, I got to get back on their good side. Narduzzi says, we're going to talk midway through the year. He's like, hey, we're going to talk after the year about what you're going to do next semester, which is code for see ya. Just start working my ass off. I'm like, nope, going to turn this thing around. Don't care. Work. Finally, they give me, I mean, I had the shittiest jobs you could ever imagine. I had to sit at the hotel lobby while recruits came in at 2 a.m. drunk on their OVs, stuff like that. Like, just nobody wants to do these jobs. I think they were just doing it so that I would leave. Well, there was a quarterback recruit that came in, drops some weed, drops a lighter, drops this, drops that. He was a transfer quarterback. Because if you remember, after 2017, Kenny upsets Miami. He's the guy. The whole quarterback room leaves. I didn't know this at the time. Sean had coached with this guy's dad. Well, Coach Narduzzi, I'm getting coffee, 6:30 a.m. Mind you, it was just 4 hours ago I see this. I remember taking a shower that morning, like, do I tell anybody? I don't know. I was like, screw it. I'm out of here anyway. I'll at least try to help Pitt a little bit. Coach Narduzzi is at the coffee. He said, hey, anything interesting happened last night? I thought he knew. I'm like, does he know? Like, I thought he was testing me. Like, actually, yeah, coach. So-and-so dropped some weed, dropped lighter, came back. Well, came back with this person who was a JUCO guy. And he was like, oh, he was his teammate. I was like, no wonder he didn't hang with his host all night. It's like, we can't take this guy. And I mean, he was going to commit that morning. Tell Coach Dews, Watson comes over, reads me the Miranda rights in front of Dews, like embarrassingly bad, just MF me. He's talking to Dews like this. He's pointing. I'm like the camera. He's pointing. This mother ever. We don't trust him for anything. And you're going to go with his word? And Dews like, yeah, I believe him. I believe him. Then Sean pulls me into his office.
No.
Triples down. I mean, I remember leaving the office, Sean's office. I'm like, boy, this Pitt experience has been terrible. Bob Junko calls me into his office. He says, you listen here, boy. You work for one man and one man, and that's the head coach. And he thinks you did a good job. You helped the program today. I remember leaving Junk's office, me and Narduzzi passing each other in the hall once again. And I'm like feeling a little bit better, but I'm still like, I mean, I got crushed that day. And me and Dews were passing each other in the hall. He said, Karlo, gives me a fist bump. He goes, you're back in the staff meetings, practice. You're back, baby. And I remember him walking down the hall. Remember Ben Mathers? He yells, he goes, Mathers, get Zovko a chair for the staff meeting. And I was like, holy smokes. But Sean, after that, wasn't it, but I couldn't care less. I was like, all right, I'm back. And that was really the turning point in my Pitt career. Because I mean, I was out. People in that building still say that, like, I've never seen somebody turn the broker, turn his destiny around like Karlo. I mean, I was out. I was locked up in that recruiting office. I couldn't leave the recruiting office. No, but you probably didn't notice this, or you weren't there in 2017. You were there in 2018. I mean, nobody sat with me at lunch. I mean, I would go to lunch and I had to check everybody's meals. So I'm just sitting there by myself, 3 hours and lunch. Oh, here we go. I was like, yeah, I'm out of here.
But you had a choice.
But I had I doubled and tripled down.
A lot of people wouldn't.
Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't. Oh yeah, but I was out. But one little thing. And then director of recruiting leaves 5 months later.
I remember that because I was in the recruiting process.
Yeah. And got interviewed. So I was going to go from GA to director of recruiting. I actually took second, but I can't remember LaSala calling me in the office and
what a guy LaSala.
And saying like, dude, I'm going to be honest, when we were interviewing you, I thought it was just kind of a, like, hey, we got our guy, but we'll interview Karlo. He goes, I think you might get this job. Beautiful. But that was but I always think Sean Watson, I could have absolutely been done, doubled down, and it changed my whole life, really. But
that's so funny. He's a good guy. I'm not here to poo-poo.
For whatever it's worth,
Watson.
I do think Sean is a good, and his mind is very good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of coaches like that. Like if you bring in a guy, especially it's your guy, and the little idiot recruiting guy says he's a piece of shit, well, that makes you look bad.
Absolutely.
So, and I didn't realize that at the time. Because, I mean, mind you, I was a GA that I was 22, 23 years old, so I don't know either, but that was a black eye on him. So, like if that situation were to happen, as a 31-year-old guy, or even when I was like 26, 27 and kind of knew the industry, I would probably go to Sean first and say, hey, here's what, I kind of went over his head, went over everybody's head, even my boss, Graham Wilbert. I went through, the quarterback coach, OC, right up to Dews and told him, But it was just one of those, I didn't know, but that's not the way to go about things. And like, you're supposed to look out for other coaches. I wasn't looking out for Sean there. That was bad on me. But once again, I was like, I don't know. Coach, yeah, enjoy your coffee. I think that this guy's going to be a shitbag. And then he got arrested, felony charges. He was a starting quarterback for a group of 5 program, got into like a police shootout or something. And I remember Coach printing it out and showing the team. But before the staff meeting, he said, who remembers this guy? And a couple guys were like, yeah, didn't he come on a visit here? During staff meeting, he said, Karlo, you probably saved us from this kid, huh? And I was like, hey, how about that? So
there's some good people in the Pitt building. LaSala, Junko. I actually still have the voicemail from 6 years ago. Junko calling me and saying like, hey, Colin, just want to see if you want to work out at the pro day, work out in front of the pro. And because I ended up calling him back, obviously, worked out at the pro day. But just loved Junk.
I still talk to Junk, yeah.
I haven't talked to him obviously since I left.
Yeah, he's an absolute legend. Words can't describe what he's done for that program.
He's like I said, I was only there for a year. Honestly, like I fit in like culturally really well.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a conversation with Shane Roy, who and I we still keep in contact and like we joke a lot. And I forget how it even came up, but he was like, I forgot you haven't been here for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like hitting me that you've only been here for 1.
Yeah.
So like I loved Pitt. Mm-hmm. And that's what
well, the guys like you that came in like that, it certainly seems like you were there a lot longer than just your grad year, you know? And you're not the only case like that. Like even, I would say even like Nolan Uluzio, who was the offensive tackle after Steph graduated. We brought him in from Michigan for 1 year, but he was like you. He was totally bought in from the jump. And it's like, yeah, that guy looked like he could have been there for years upon years. And Lucas Kroll, now he did have an injury. He was a tight end. He had an injury in 2020, so he was there for 2 years, but it was supposed to be another 1 year thing. But Lucas is one where,
he seems like I met him one time, actually in Murraysville. When Jimmy and Jake were doing their podcast.
Oh, yeah.
At Brushes and Beans.
Yeah.
At their event I came to support.
Yeah.
That was the only time I met him. He seemed like really
good. He was awesome, but he was like one of those guys, it's almost like it was like a transplant. Like you put him in your body and it just fit perfectly. And there's great that's where the portal was great, So yeah, there were certainly a lot of guys like you, but it's not super common, but it's there. Yeah, it happened.
But again, I graduated.
Yeah.
So I was a graduate.
Key. Yeah.
Then
that's key.
In. So
and he was
maturity thing.
And he was the same way. He was the same way at Florida. Yeah. And Nolan was the same way at Michigan. So it's a maturity thing.
It's a maturity thing plays a major factor when it comes to that transfer stuff. You understand the game, you understand the business side of it. Like you understand culturally, structurally, like how it works.
Yeah.
Like nothing's handed to you. You got to earn things. You got to go in, you got to compete, do the right things. And usually like when you are a grad transfer, like to be somewhere that long, like you do the right thing.
Yeah. You understand.
Made of the right stuff.
Yeah.
Who was your biggest miss in recruiting where you're like, this kid stinks, and he ended up being something?
Oh, this is a good question because there were a lot of them. Recruiting is not easy because when you're trying to evaluate high schools, like the level of competition wise, I would say there's more so guys where I thought that they were going to be a dude and weren't, because I was always a guy that you have to find the good in somebody, because the easy way to evaluate, Colin's not 6'1". He doesn't have long arms. Who knows what his quickness is? Sure, he has long speed, but is that game speed? How is he super physical? It's easy to pinpoint the negatives. You have to pinpoint the positives and make those. And I think that's where Coach Narduzzi and the staff is so great. The positives of a guy, they just highlight them through the roof. So pinpointing the positives is sometimes harder in recruiting. What can't you do? So much easier to say than what you can do at a high level. So I always look for positives, but I would say the guy that I didn't think would be super good, I thought that was a weird situation. Like he was an international kid from Italy. I think he played down in Florida, and I was one of them. that called Charlie Parks and said, hey, there's this kid down here. You need to at least go look at him. I called just saying, hey, like kind of due diligence. And Charlie always credited me for that. It was really the recruiting intern, Lino Lupinelli, who told me, and I just called Charlie. So I got like all this praise, but every time somebody brought it up, I always said, no, it's actually Lino Lupinelli that found this kid. But who's now the GM at UAB. So that kind of tells you how, what Lino's like. But Haba, I was like, I mean, this kid, I hope he's this because he has length, he has speed, he has toughness, but I don't think this is a slam dunk. He's coming from Italy. That's one. I will say, going back, Servassier Dennis was another one, but I loved Voss. I thought his senior year tape, if you go back and watch it, and this is one where it's a miss on my evaluation part, because if you go back and watch a senior year tape, he doesn't do a bunch of linebacker stuff. But he's the quarterback, he's the running back, he could be receiver, and he does it all so well, and he's so cerebral. But there was a reason Voss wasn't recruited by anybody, But when he came in, I remember thinking, like, fall in love with him, fall in love with the family, like, this kid's gonna make it. But I remember watching on tape being like, maybe. But then you go back and watch him again but he didn't do, he wasn't blitzing off the edge or doing this, doing that. He wasn't doing all this linebacker stuff. He was the damn quarterback. Things like that, I would say, are different. And that's why he's still in the NFL, probably going to be an all-pro. I still think he's going to be an all-pro. His family was at my wedding. They came to my wedding, but that's how close I was with the family. But you get to know them on that visit, and you're like, yeah, this kid's going to be a dude. And I can't believe we're flipping him from Air Force. Kid should have had 30 Power 4 offers. Another one was Gavin Bartholomew. Gavin, we thought would be an offensive tackle after his junior year. Gavin was committed to Bucknell.
Was he really?
Funny enough. I think it was Bucknell. Bucknell or Lafayette. I think it was, I'm like 90%.
Patriot Leagues.
Or no. I'll tell you what it was. He was committed to Buffalo, but his offers were Bucknell and Buffalo. He had 2 offers. That's exactly what it was. He was committed to Buffalo.
That's crazy. I would have still picked Bucknell over Buffalo.
Really? Yeah. I mean, the education is really good.
I digress.
So Gavin, after his junior year, we thought he could grow into an offensive tackle. He was the last visit before the COVID shutdown. COVID shuts down, things get crazy. Well, Gavin starts a quarterback for his first team. He went to Blue Ridge Mountain High School or something like that. It was like somewhere way out in Eastern PA that you have to Google, like it's crazy. Quarterback for his team, jumping over guys. And we're like, okay, yeah, this kid is not an offensive. That was a bad eval. He probably, if he, he was 6'4". I see why we thought that, but we're like, no, he's a tight end and probably a damn good one. No, he just got drafted in the NFL. But that was one where, once again, that's not a miss because we were the only Power 4 team to take him. But initially we were like, there were some questions, and then as soon as he comes in, he started as a true freshman, on that 2021 ACC championship.
He was awesome.
And it's like, how the hell that happened? But there were probably more that I was super high on that didn't pan out. And those are the ones where you're like, what could have been wrong? And might have been the give a shit factor. That was for sure a lot of them. But I mean, there's some medical issues sometimes that happen that come up and you're like, man, that's a bummer, but the misses for me were probably that end where I thought that they were going to be really good and really weren't.
To keep going back to that give a shit factor, I was never a guy who believed in the it factor. I'll give this guy his flowers until I met Kenny.
Oh yeah.
And I remember.
Oh yeah.
Like he didn't have a great statistical year that year. Like
in 18. Oh no. It was terrible statistically.
But like, in terms of just like a guy who like gets this, it's like you can't ask a question, like you don't, you feel it, you're around it, you see it. Mm-hmm. And I remember, so it was after the 20 year, it was before his huge year. I made a bet with my brother-in-law my brother-in-law he was a wrestler at Iowa, like awesome. Mm-hmm. He's now a coach in Minnesota, but I remember making a bet with him. I was like, Kenny's gonna be first round quarterback next year. He's like, you're out of your mind. And I was like, I'm telling you, he's going to be a first-round quarterback. The quarterback class next year is not great. I was like, but Kenny gets it.
Yeah.
Kenny's a guy. He goes and does everything. He wins, and I win the bet. And I was just like, to this day, I'm like, he got a raw, like, I don't like making excuses for people. He got a raw deal. in my opinion, in Pittsburgh.
For Steelers?
Yeah.
Rod, you got the worst deal of all time.
And so I'm like, he's going to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I have many bets on Cleveland
Kenny.
Browns futures this year.
So I'm like, Kenny's going to figure it out. Like, I actually have very little concern.
Agreed.
Like, he's going to go in there.
Agreed.
He's going to be okay.
I think not only did he get a raw deal with the Steelers, I think he got a raw deal with Pitt football. We couldn't, I mean, for Pat Narduzzi is the defensive coach. Okay, there was a reason Pitt's not getting 4- and 5-star receivers, but they are getting the defensive backs and all that. Yeah. If you're a defensive-minded head coach, that's what you're going to do.
And you want the offense to match the defense.
Well, there's so many offensive-minded head coaches nowadays. Those guys are recruiting all the skill players because they can relate to it the same way dudes relates to the DBs and the linebackers. That's why we're getting unbelievable DBs and linebackers. But on the offense side of the ball, I mean, we couldn't get Kenny any help. And I don't want to put these players down, but it's like, I'm talking NFL draft pick. You want to win the ACC, 100%. You need to have draft picks at receivers, draft picks at tight ends, running backs. And in 2021, we finally did, but they were all still, Jordan was a sophomore. Izzy was a sophomore. Vince Davis was a true junior. So that 2021 year, we got him young help and he won the damn championship, but in 2018, that 2019 team, the year after you left, think about how low the 2019 team went.
Yeah.
If Darren Hall, I always said the worst part about the 2015 season, that was the year James Conner got cancer. So kind of threw a wrench into the running back room. True freshman Darren Hall comes in as the 4th running back in a blowout game. Blows the red shirt. That was probably the worst decision. I can't even remember who the OC was at the time. I never worked with him. He went to Georgia.
Yeah, I remember talking about.
Bigger dude.
Can't remember his name either.
But that decision, blowing Darren Hall's red shirt in 15, ruined the 2019 year because we didn't have a running back. We were relying on Vince Davis as a true freshman,
and he was
small. Good, but he was small. But
hard to give that guy 100 or 300 carries in a year.
If we have Darren Hall that year, we're back in the ACC title game. There's no doubt in my mind about it, and that probably changed the trajectory even more so of Pitt football. But it's like, if Kenny just had a little bit more help earlier in his career, he would have had way more. He ended up rewriting the record book anyway, but my God, those records would have been untouchable. People don't get it. He had that factor where, when he walked into that room, you knew Kenny Pickett was in there, and he wouldn't say anything or do anything. It was just it's like that aura, he did.
It's a real thing.
It's a very real thing, and he absolutely had it. And I'll say this, going back to high school tape. Go watch Kenny Pickett's high school highlight tape because he's not super great. He didn't have a ton of offers coming out. He was committed to Temple for a while, picked up Power 4s later. Senior year, what senior year quarterback starts their highlight tape with defensive hit coming down at safety, laying dudes out? Nobody even plays defense anymore as a quarterback. And Kenny was the safety knocking guys out. It was just, he was different. He was different. And everybody in Ocean Township.
I'm also pretty sure he grew in college because when I was
100,
he's
there, 6'3".
Yeah, he was
100%,
6'2", maybe
100%, 6'1" and change for sure. Yeah. I agree.
And I was because I remember going back and be like, "Did you grow?"
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I thought about that too.
That was crazy, but yeah, Kenny, like I said, I used to get in so many arguments with Steeler fans. I'm like, because we know people in the building too, and so we have connections you don't it's not like the newspaper, right?
Right.
You have people who are this tough shit. He's not getting the support basically he needs. And so I'd have so many arguments with so many Steelers fans. You just don't get it.
This Brown situation could be interesting.
Oh, dude. So I don't like the Steelers. I hate the Steelers.
I've recanted the Steelers. I'm done with the Steelers.
I used to love the Steelers. I'll say the biggest thing for me, honestly, and it's petty, but so after the pro day, so many different teams actually came up to me. I remember Packers, Vikings, Lions. Weird that it's that division, but Buffalo, where I ended up getting a mini camp invite. But the Steelers never came up to me. Never said anything. Didn't give me the offer, and I was in my own little secluded world.
Yeah,
right? I was how come the Buffalo Bills are giving me a mini camp invite? But it would be a cool story, look good. You're gonna cut me anyway,
right? At least bring me on
hometown
local
kid.
Guy.
Yeah, would have been sweet.
Yeah.
Right. So I had that was the tipping point. There's some other things. We have some family connections there, but I'll keep those private. That really made me disdain them.
Yeah.
But the big thing, like that was like my tipping point. I was like, come on, like at least like just whatever.
Yeah, they do some things that are for sure questionable.
Yeah.
For sure questionable, and that can piss people off. But yeah,
that's
this
a petty thing. I acknowledge that's petty. People listening like that.
I
like,
hope Kenny goes 2-0 against, and I'll be doing victory laps on Twitter.
I'm pro Kenny.
Yeah.
Pro Kenny. But all right, that's it, brother.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. This was a grand. This setup is awesome. Yeah, I might
appreciate
need
that.
to take some notes for my own studio. This is a hell of a deal here.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm very happy with what you're doing. Newsletter is really cool too. I'll read it time to time. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, very cool.
Thank you, brother. If anything that you're promoting, obviously Whipwheel Insider. I want to talk to you a lot about Whipwheel Insider. We'll have to do a round 2.
The problem with me is if you get me telling stories, I just don't shut up.
That's the best. Yeah, it makes my job easy. But no, so we'll get you on again. Maybe in high school football season, we'll get you on again. But if there's anything you're promoting, anything you're working on, take the time to shout yourself out now.
Yeah, so I run the page Whipio Insider. We actually have some very, very big news for the future dropping later this month. I have to keep a lid on it for now, but when will this air, you think?
Probably next week.
Okay, yeah. So can't say anything yet. Dang it. Have some very important news for the future there, but pretty much we do a podcast on Whipio Insider. I think it's the best high school podcast on the East Coast, and I listen to a bunch of them. And obviously I'm biased, but we put serious production value into it. We do it professionally. We have a TV show as well. The only person that can do highlights of games. Once again, I'll keep that to myself on how I have access to do highlights of games. The 11 best games in Western Pennsylvania every single week on Sundays at 22 The Point at 11 o'clock, and also on my Twitter page on that Sunday. But it's a little mini version of the Fedco zone. Fedco went around with the helicopter, and so not on that level yet. Hoping to get there. Hoping to get there, something like that. But to find high school football highlights of games, not easy to do.
Easy.
So we can do that on Whipio Insider. So if that's what you're into, we can do it, and we have a good time. We have a nice following. It's like one of those cult-like followings, people that love high school football. Those are my people. So
Western PA famous recruiting savant, Karlo Zovko. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you having me on, Colin. Talk soon.
Yep. Listeners, thank you for listening. Tune in next week. 5 stars only, baby. Check us out at athleticfortitude.com.